Hey everybody, how you doing? Season 203 is here. First race of the season, SK Modified at North Wilkesboro Speedway. I just bought this track with my race participation credits. I've got about 50 laps underneath my belt in time trial and practice. As I have no setup for North Wilkesboro, I went through my files and I found that Thompson Speedway at 0.62 miles in length, with North Wilkesboro being 0.63 miles in length. I thought, let's give that one a try. However, Thompson has 26 degrees of banking. North Wilkesboro only has 14. I had to really mess around with the stagger and add quite a bit of stagger to it. I also bumped up the gear just a little bit to give me a little more speed.
All right, everybody, let's get ready to go racing here. Go up there and have some fun. There's a great racetrack. Great place to go out and have some fun, guys. We got a fantastic pit stop, a great race car. Man, I think we got a really good spotter up there, so we'll be ready to go. I'd like to say hello to all the fans that are here with us today. Thanks for coming out to support us. Hope you guys enjoy the race.
You can see that I got pole by 0.02 of a second. I am in car number 8. This is a very stout field. We're all within about 100 iRating. The way I'm going to do this here is as soon as the pace car jumps off the track, I am gone. Here we go.
You ready? Green.
I have no idea how this is going to turn out with such a stout, close field. We are split number 3 of 6, almost 100 cars. Love to see that kind of participation in the SK Modified. Season 201, we were lucky to get an official field at 6 sometimes. All right, coming down, lap number 1, held on to the lead, got the one car right behind me.
20.611.
Kind of kissed the grass there. I will do an in-depth track analysis a little bit later here as I see it. Remember, I'm not a pro. Kind of come down and get pretty close to that curb, sweep out to the wall.
18.078.
For having almost no time here at this track, I kind of like the way this track runs. It, on a smaller scale, it kind of reminds me of Richmond a little bit and Iowa Speedway, where you just kind of feather the throttle going into the corners. Now you got to get out of the throttle a lot more here at a short track, but it just kind of feels the same to me. I've got a conservative setup. I could have gone up a little bit more in the stagger, but I was getting a little loose. I want to keep it a little tight, just have a really good race. This is the very first race time slot of season 203 for the SK Modified. And like I said, over 100 cars that entered. I am extremely and exceptionally surprised that I'm out maintaining the lead here with such a stout field. I expected a little bit more competition, but maybe everybody's doing kind of what the same thing I'm doing is, hey, let's just take it easy and play it easy and get a feel for this thing here. I'm probably running some ugly lines with the lack of experience here. But I was watching the other guys in practice, and for the most part, everybody's just hanging right down on that curb and the line on the turns. Now, turns 1 and 2 here, you kind of lose your bearings, and then that grass kind of jumps out, and it doesn't, oh, I kiss it right there. It doesn't seem very symmetrical to me. I mean, it is, but it just feels a little odd when you lose that interior sight line because of the exit of pit road. I've got about a half a second lead on the second place car, and we've been kind of maintaining that here for the first 9-10 laps. You know what time it is? Crank that knob to 11.
0.066. 7, pulling on the bottom. Stay high, stay high.
All right, wow, that was a close call on lap 13 with that 14 car. But, and you saw me get loose there a couple times. The rear end's getting a little light on me, it seems. I've got more than enough fuel, almost twice the fuel for this run. I like a little weight in the rear end, as I've said before. But something that I noticed on this track, it kind of reminds me a little bit of, I think, Thompson, where you really have to consciously unwind the steering wheel as you come out of a corner. Otherwise, you can get that rear end, you're going to pinch the front end down, and that rear end will try to come around. I've noticed that on some tracks for that effect is there more than other tracks. Now, I have a conservative setup here, so I am a little tight, but that rear end was coming around real easy. Now, here's the thing about North Wilkesboro that I've noticed, and this is very similar to Richmond again and Iowa Speedway. When the rear end starts to come around, just breathe the throttle. If you jump out of the throttle, you're coming around. Breathe the throttle, barely use the steering wheel to correct the rear end coming back in line, and then get back on the throttle. If you attempt to correct the rear end coming around with the steering and get off the throttle at the same time, that's when you can kind of get behind in your steering. Also along that lines, I noticed here during practice that North Wilkesboro lends itself to what I call the slow, lazy spins. That's where that rear end starts to step out. Guys don't catch up to it, and then they slowly come around. So if that were to happen right in front of you, then you can easily manipulate getting around that car, whether it be high or low, and most likely it's probably going to be on the high line. I've also noticed you saw me get just a little bit behind on my steering there, passing that lap car. If you get out of your preferred line, the car gets really, really unstable compared to a lot of tracks that you might race at. And you have to be very, very careful with the throttle and the steering inputs because you're off your preferred line and you can get in a bad shape in a quick hurry. So coming down here into 1 and 2, you can come down and just barely kiss that grass line there, that line with the grass on the inside. You can just barely touch the grass and you're okay, but more than a half a tire width in that grass and wow, it upsets the car big time. So you kind of sweep out to the wall under the flag stand, come down, follow that dotted white line. You see right there the inside line with the grass seems to come out to you, even though you're maintaining a steady line through the corner. It just kind of feels that way, so be aware of that and be careful of that. And I think that's because you kind of lose your bearing on that inside line with the exit of pit road there. So kind of come into that inner lane, that lower lane. You see me unwind the steering right there because I got a little ahead of myself. Coming down into 3, you can take her right down to the curb, follow it around, power out of 4, back up underneath the flag stand on the outside line, back down into turn 1, almost all out of the throttle. Just leave a little gas in that throttle to keep that drive line charged, if you will, has torque on it. And there again, in 3 and 4, I'm not out of the throttle completely. All right, white flag. Here we come. Well, this is kind of a surprise. Got about a 2.5 second lead on the second place car. I'm totally shocked at this. I'm happy as all get out. And one other thing, real quickly, the tire wear here seemed to affect me more than other tracks, even though tire wear is generally not a huge concern in the SK. But anyway, here we come down. Car number 8, checker flag, 30 laps, led flag to flag. Wow, first race of season 203, come out with a win. That is spectacular. I totally did not expect this.
Really good work, everybody. Good job, Earl. Good work up there.
Well, I tell you what, with my experience here right here today, I kind of like North Wilkesboro. It kind of is one of those tracks, again, that is a rhythm track, a momentum track. I kind of like it. That kind of is the way I like to drive. And the setup that I have, I can adjust that a little bit more and get it a little more freer, a little more loose. And I think I could pick up a tenth or two of speed. I noticed that the aliens in the top speed were running 17.5s, and here I was at 18.006. So got about a half second to work on. However, whoa, what is going on here? Whoops, into the grass. Luckily, we're after the cool down lap, and even though it's showing a 1X, I came out with 0X for the final tally on the race. So anyway, for this split, this win, I got 97 championship points, and that is a pretty high number for such a low split, you know, 3 out of 6. So I'm probably not going to do any more official races here at North Wilkesboro, but I probably will spend some time in time trial because the Whelen Tour Modified will visit this track later on, and I can maybe transfer some of that knowledge. Real quick note on the Whelen Tour Modified, I noticed that iRacing added a series for them. Whelen Tour was open series. They have added a fixed series now, so that's going to be interesting. I'm going to run both of those. So we'll see what happens between the two different series, open and fixed. All right, guys, thanks for coming along for the ride, and we'll see you next time.